Hey YouTube, Beardmaster180 here with my DVD new releases review for the week of December 14th, 2010. This week we have Despicable Me and the Other Guys being released, as well as the A-Team, which I've already reviewed previously, link in the description below. So we'll start with Despicable Me. The story of Despicable Me follows a supervillain named Gru, played by Steve Carell, and he hits a bad patch in his career and he's not as successful at crimes as he once was. So he comes up with a plan to revert this bad streak by stealing a shrink ray and using it to shrink the moon and steal it. However, his plans hit a snag when a new up-and-coming villain named Vector steals the shrink ray for himself. So Gru decides to adopt 3 little girls and use them to help get the shrink ray. And as he spends time with the girls, they start to grow on. Now this movie intrigued me since the very first trailer. I was very interested in seeing a movie where the main character was a villain. Unfortunately, it pulls out all the family movie cliches in the book. But there is still a lot that I liked about this movie. First, Steve Carell is quite entertaining as Gru, mostly due to the accent he uses. In fact, I had to constantly remind myself that it was him. Also, the animation is very good and designs are very clever. But probably the best thing about this movie is the minions that assist Gru. They steal every scene they're in. Can't understand what the hell they're saying, but it doesn't matter. However, there are some flaws. For starters, I've already stated the movie is far too predictable. But with animated films, it's what you'd expect. However, the large flaw that I have is that there's not a whole lot of humor. There's some, but only a fraction that's actually good, mostly involving the minions. But the rest is really cheesy and kid-like. But I shouldn't complain, because that's the demographic this movie is trying to appeal to. Overall, I give Despicable Me a 7 out of 10. If this weekend you need to entertain kids, and you need something to do, put this on, they should eat it up, and you'll probably get something out of it too. Now on to The Other Guys. So the basic plot of The Other Guys is Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell are 2 desk jockey cops who decide to rise up and become top dogs by busting open this embezzling scheme. Now I'm just going to come out and say I am disappointed with this movie. I'm not a fan of Will Ferrell to begin with. I do not find him funny, I just find him irritating. However, I do find Mark Wahlberg to be a great actor, and I know that at times he can be funny. So I hope that he would sort of overshadow Will Ferrell or something to that extent. Unfortunately, in my eyes, these two don't have good chemistry. Ferrell does something irritating and Wahlberg yells at him. That's about it. In these kinds of movies where one character irritates the other, they banter back and forth. And it makes for some great comedy. This just feels awkward. It's sort of like when you're at a friend's house and they're being yelled at and you're just kind of like sitting in the same room, and it just kind of feels uncomfortable. Another thing that bugs me is that the story is just all over the place. First it's like a comedy, then there's some action, then it's a comedy again, then it's a drama, then it's an action. This is all fine, but it all seems very forced and sometimes it's out of context. There's one scene where Wahlberg and Ferrell have just interrogated the one that they suspect is behind everything, and as they discuss their situation, these guys on motorcycles come up from out of nowhere to attack the pair, and Wahlberg pulls out these ninja-type moves out of nowhere and kicks their asses. I'm all for action scenes, but when it was never established that he could actually do stuff like that. Now there are some things that I still did like about this movie. Some of the humor is funny. It's not laugh out loud funny, but it's definitely worth a chuckle. Michael Keaton really works as the captain. And the scenes with Samuel L. Jackson and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson are just great. I really wish that this movie was about them. So overall, I give The Other Guys a 5 out of 10. It's fairly disappointing in my eyes. I was expecting something a bit better than this. So there's my review of this week's new releases, Despicable Me and The Other Guys, and the end of this week's DVD new releases review. Next week's releases for December 21st are Salt, Devil, and The Town, which actually comes out this Friday for some reason. Why am I reviewing 3 next week instead of 2? Tune in next week to find out. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed these reviews, and just remember that this has been my own personal opinion. You are in control of yours. See you next week.